Today we're getting adventurous in our final lesson in the How to Start Woodturning series as we try to make something productive out of firewood. Stay tuned to see how this turns out. Welcome to Turning Stitches, I'm Sean. We help woodturners learn the craft to begin making fun projects faster. Let's keep building on your faceplate turning skills by making a vase. If you missed our last faceplate project, making a bowl, in lesson 9, you can find it here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you'll know when our next lesson is posted and make it easy to follow along. Vases are another fun faceplate project, and they're a great way to display dry flowers and other decor features in your home. Today there's no glue, so we're getting right to work. I'm starting with a small section of an ash log. This is a great project for small log sections like this. Our first step is to get our blank round. Today I'm starting with the log between centers because the ends are not very parallel or square to one another. If you're using a scroll chuck, you're going to want to start this way also so you can get a tenon established on one end. I prefer using a faceplate on vases as much as I can, so once I've got one end nice and square, we'll attach a faceplate to it. We've got our log in a rough cylinder here. The piece I'm working with today is a piece of ash. It is spalted. You can see some of the texture in it here, but I do have some soft spots. So I'm going to have to be mindful of that as we work along. I'm going to come in about 2 inches from the end. I know I've got screws down here, and this is just going to be my bottom. Now that gives me plenty of length. I cut this log pretty long. It ends up being a little over 4 inches in diameter. So at this point, what I want to do is just kind of refine my shape. When we're thinking about the size and shape of our vase, one of the things we have to think about is what tools are we using to hollow. So today I'm going to be using my cutter tool, and it has quite a bit of length to it. So I can get a fairly deep, a good 7-8 inches deep in a vase. And we're going to make this vase, we're going to leave the end open. It'll be easy to access. But you may want to size your vase depending on the tools you have for hollowing. I like to use a faceplate when I'm doing vases as much as possible. So when I'm working with log sections like this, I try to leave them longer than I need. And then, I've got a mark down here. This is effectively where we're going to, the base may not be in that spot. We may move it just a little bit. I can move it down a little bit, or I can move it up. The one thing I have to be mindful of on this piece, I'm getting some pretty good tear out here, so I may have to remove a healthy portion of the top. But I think I've still got a pretty good section in here that I can work with. The diameter is only about 4 inches after we've gotten it round. So ideally, I'd like to have about an 8-inch vase, and I've got enough room. In fact, I'm going to move that down just a little bit to there. And then that's going to get me past at least some of this stuff here. So we'll see how that works out for us as we go along. Regardless, I think this will still work out. Okay, with shifting the bottom down, I'm going to take my parting tool and just cut in here where I want the very bottom of the vase to be. That way I don't lose track of this location. And then we'll start working on the shape of our vase. All right, so now I'm just going to use the bowl gouge, and we'll shape this section here, which will be our vase. I'm going to start up at the top. I'm going to go ahead and work off some of this material up here. Just kind of get that roughed out of the way. Another option I've got, obviously, is to reduce that diameter and get rid of that sort of soft wood. So we may have to do that. as we're thinking about the shape, you want to really what we're looking for is an aesthetically pleasing shape here. Now, to me, this looks a little tall, so we're going to refine this a little bit. We may stop before we get down. This is the furthest I can bring my base down, but I'm probably going to come back up here just a little bit and not make that base quite, or the vase quite as tall overall. So here I'm just kind of scooping out, creating a new bottom here. And all I really am looking for is just a nice taper. Now, one of the harder things to do, as I'm shaping this, what I'm really wanting to do is I'm really wanting to look at this edge over here. So the nice thing is about having the camera right here is I've got a nice light right here so I can see this edge very easily. When I'm looking at my tool and the tool rest, it's hard to see that shape coming alive. So I'm really looking at the top edge and letting that top edge kind of guide where I want that shape. It takes some practice to be able to do that. As you get more experience, you'll feel more comfortable with that. There's a lot of times where you will use that technique as you're shaping. You may use it on bowls as well, especially on the interior. A lot of times you can't see the side that you're cutting. Okay. I've got a ridge right here that I need to resolve. And sometimes it's a little easier just to use the old gouge like a scraper. Okay, overall I'm pretty happy with this shape. We're going to have some unique texture on this vase if we can keep it together. So now I'm just going to kind of remove this waste material up here and then we'll work on hollowing. I like to use depth holes just like I did with the bowls and the boxes in the prior lessons. So I've got my little shop-made jig here, and I'm just measuring down to establish how deep we want to hollow. I like to leave a couple inches or a fairly thick base in the bottom of a vase like this that's tall. That way, if you're putting dry flowers or something that stands out of it, it's less likely to topple over. I think it makes it a little more useful, but that's just a personal preference. So I've got that depth. All right, with the blue tape on the drill bit, where I want my depth, we'll drill that out and we'll start the hollowing process. So I've slowed down the RPMs on the lathe to about 300, 325. We're going to drill this hole and then we're going to keep expanding this hole. I actually prefer, anytime I'm hollowing, I really like to use the drill as much as I possibly can. I find it to be the most efficient way of hollowing. So this first hole is going to give us the bottom. So this long drill bit gives us the opportunity to get all the way in as far as we need to go. So now that I've got my depth hole drilled, I'm using a Forstner bit. And I'm going to keep using kind of progressively larger Forstner bits and really try to do as much of this hollowing using the drill as I can. With our drilling operations done, now it's time just to hollow out the rest of our vase. With our open mouth, we can reach down in pretty easily. And so today I'm just using this kind of a standard carbide type cutter tool. I've got a nice sharp tip here, ready to go. And all we need to do is work down this side that's kind of closest to us. I've got the tool rest set just above center, which should help me make that cut as efficiently as possible. But really all we want to do is kind of work this down so that we get down to our desired wall thickness on our vase. I like to leave vases probably a good 1/4 inch or so. And then the challenge, of course, is just trying to get a pretty consistent wall thickness all the way down into the bottom. Experience helps with that, but let's kick this on and go ahead and start hollowing with our cutting tool. First, I just kind of want to make sure I'm cutting. With an open mouth vase like this, you don't need a lot of specialty tools for this type of hollowing, so I thought it was a good introduction. This is definitely one of those operations where you're probably going to see more. You'll have more vision on this side of the vessel than you will on this side where the tool is. So you're probably going to watch your progress a little more on that opposite side, much like you did on the outside. So I'm not trying to be super aggressive here. I've got a very long handle here on my tool. That'll give me a lot more leverage and control. I can use my body and my elbow. You might be able to see it here. That gives me a nice control of the tool. Now I'm working out here on this outside edge a little bit, just trying to figure out where I want how thick I want it, and then we're going to work down. I've got all the way down to the bottom some. This will give me the chance to start working toward that wall thickness on my vase. Once you're happy with the exterior and interior of your vase, then it's just time to sand. I'm going to give this one, I've got quite a few tool marks and things here. I'm going to start with 100 grit. I'm going to leave the speed up at about 1,000 for a moment, and then I'll dial it down and we'll work through the grits from there. With our vase all sanded up, the last thing to do is use our parting tool just to part this off from the faceplate. Congratulations! You made it all the way through our lesson series, and you've been exposed to many different wood turning skills and projects. Now the thing to do is to find what inspires you the most and to keep working on it. If you missed any of our lessons, they're all linked below. And we have them organized on a playlist on the channel. So make sure you subscribe so you can come back and find them very easily. And don't worry, we're going to be tackling a lot of other wood turning projects. And if there's anything you'd like to see, make sure you let us know in the comments. So we're looking forward to seeing you in the next video.